Hi. So this video is about the U.S. History Regents Exam, Part 2. Those are the short essay questions. Specifically, I'm going to talk about Set 1, which I call the relationship essay. We're going to go over what Part 2 looks like, what historical context is, and what are the different relationships that we can write about. So I know this is overwhelming, but the entire Regents is broken down into 3 parts. The first part is multiple choice. The third part is about the civic literacy essay, which you can see in a different video. But the part we're talking about today is Part 2, the short essay questions. Specifically, we're going to be talking about SEQ 1. So, short essay question 1 has you define a relationship between 2 different documents. In total, it should take you about half an hour to do this one essay, so it's not very long. It only needs to be 2 to 3 paragraphs. You can probably get it done in 2. And the first paragraph is going to be historical context. That's actually true of both of the short essay questions. So what is historical context? That's a question I can't fully answer. It always seems to change depending on, what students are being asked to do. But the basic is historical context explains what led up to the events in the documents. You're basically telling the prequel story to whatever's happening. In order to contextualize, right, to give historical context, there isn't a formula that I can give you. I can't tell you that you needed to say and do these exact things in order to get your points, but I can give you some advice. First off, it should be a general explanation of the era that the documents were made in, if they're made in the same era. You can also give key terms that are relevant to the documents, and as someone who has graded these exams before, oftentimes the graders are looking for these key terms. If you really need the basic, it's the story leading up to the documents. So if the documents are about a certain event or topic, tell the reader how we got to that point. The second paragraph is going to be about relationships, the relationship between 2 documents. The exam is going to give you a document A, a document B, and it's going to be up to you to figure out if they are one of these relationships. So they could be cause and effect. I think this one's the easiest to understand. It's whenever the events of one document lead to the events of another. It could also be similarity, so there's something significantly similar about them, or difference, which is something significantly different about the documents. The Regents folks also include something called, a turning point. I haven't found an instance where turning point is a better choice than cause and effect. So you can go for it, but my advice is to focus on one of these 3. Now, when you do this, you're not writing about all of these relationships. You're just picking one, whichever one you think you have the most solid grasp on. If you're going to go with cause and effect, right, that's just whenever the events in one lead to the events in another. But when it comes to similarity, right, we need to be specific about the similarity. It needs to be something significant, something important. It shouldn't just be, these 2 documents are from the same time period, right? Or these documents are about the same thing. Obviously, there's going to be similarities no matter what. Same with differences. It should be an important difference. Technically, any 2 documents are different from each other, right? But the difference should be significant enough that you can write a paragraph on it. Cause and effect, like we've said, I think this one's the most clear to students. One document leads to another. Now, I should actually rephrase that. It doesn't have to be that the actual document, right? It doesn't have to be like somebody writes a letter and that letter causes an event. It doesn't have to be like that. It's just that the events being described or shown in one document lead to the events being described or shown in the other. Now, for similarities, I think what students struggle with here is they will give similarities that just aren't necessarily what we're looking for. I would say some lower level similarities, like we said before, are just saying that 2 documents are from the same time period, or that they're about the same event or era. Some higher level similarities, some things that you could really get your points on, is saying that two documents from different time periods express similar ideas, right? So it's sort of a surprise that they have a similar idea, even though they're from, different points in time. Or two sources from opposite sides of a conflict tell the same story. You could also talk about a similarity where different sources use different evidence, but they reach the same conclusion. Or two sources both prove the same point about the same historical development. So with that one, it's a much more specific thing than just saying, oh, they're about the same thing. No, it's that they can both be used as evidence to tell the same story. Let's do a little bit of a practice. So when we're looking at the similarity between two documents, I've got two documents here that I've kind of made up for you. So let's say our document A from January 4th, 1862 reads, "Dearest Jenny, I miss you dearly, almost as much as I miss my right arm, which was recently amputated. I pray for my safe return to you." Isn't that beautiful? Document B here goes, "Dear friend, I cannot get the sound of cannon fire out of my mind. It echoes and echoes. Sometimes I awake, startled, believing myself to be the latest victim of the shrapnel. Oh, woe is me. Woe truly is me." So these are two documents from around the same time period, and we can assume from the same conflict. We don't quite know, because, they're made up. But let's see what some different tier responses could be. In our F tier, these documents are both letters. Duh, right? That's not enough. Our C tier, these documents are both letters written during the Civil War. Okay, so the years line up. Sure, but let's see our S tier, the thing that's really going to get us our points. These documents are both letters written during the Civil War, showing the devastating effects of new technology on the battlefield. So these documents both show they show something specific about the event, not just these documents are both about the same event. So how about with difference? I see a similar thing with students here. It's very easy to say that two documents are different. It's more difficult to talk about a high-level difference, an interesting difference. So some low-level differences are just that two documents are from different authors, or two documents are about different topics. Most documents would fit this, right? If we're going to talk about a difference, we want it to be specific to these documents that were given. So some high-level, two documents about the same event or era, but show opposing opinions. That could be interesting. Or two documents about the same topic, but they reach different conclusions. So I'm going to show you three possible responses. I'm not even going to show you documents, right? We're just going to look at these responses, and from that information, we're going to try and guess how they would be sorted into our tier list. So this student 1 says, document 1 was written by a Native American, while document 2 was written by a colonist. Student 2 says, the documents show different perspectives on the contact between the New World and Old World. Document 1 representing the Native American point of view, and document 2 showing the English colonists' story. Student 3 says, the documents were written by different people with different names, making them unique and different overall, showing specific things that weren't quite the same. So I'm going to give you just a moment to try and figure out how you would sort these into F, C, or S tier. I guess you can just pause the video. And I'm going to keep going. So I might have tricked you a little bit with the lowest tier. That's actually going to be student 3. Even though they write much less than student 1, if you actually read what they've written, this could be true about any two documents. Now, student 1 is going to fit into C tier. They could have done a little bit better, but at least they tell us how the point of view is different between these two documents, right? The person who wrote it is different. Obviously, student 2 is going to get that S tier response. That's what we're going for. All right, so some final reminders is that for this short essay question, you're going for 2 paragraphs. The first is about historical context. I would advise that you don't even bring up the documents in your first paragraph. Just focus on the events. Paragraph 2 is where you come in with the documents. And listen carefully to this. Make sure that you write specifically which relationship you're going to use in your writing. Basically, you need to define the relationship. So you should actually, somewhere in your work, have the word similarity, difference, or cause or effect. Somewhere in your writing so that the reader can find that and realize, oh, you know what you're talking about. All right. I hope that this helps, and best of luck. I know this test is a lot, but, with a little bit more practice, I'm sure you'll be able to handle it. Now I need to find out how to end the video. I'm sure there's a button somewhere. How do I keep the tab open? Do not close the tab. Oh, Lord have mercy. All right. Oh, I found it.